Welcome to Design Under Influence. Happy 2021. If you were watching by video, you could see that I have my pandemic dog, Chelsea, right here. She's a corgi and she's gorgeous. So hopefully a little cuteness in your life. Today we're going to talk about a very important subject. We get this question quite a bit. And the question is, should you or could you run Revit on the Mac? Now, my co-pilot today, besides Chelsea here, is Boris Rappaport, the CEO of ArcIT, my co-host, a good friend. What's up, B?
Hey, Alex. Nice to see Chelsea there. I should have probably brought my my cat Benny so we could have a pet day. Dogs and cats. Cats and dogs.
Awesome. So let's dive into the subject. First of all, let's unpack this a little bit. Is this an issue? Do people ask you this a lot? Do you hear this at conferences?
So this is an issue, right? And the reason I brought it up to you is that we actually had a conversation about this with one of our prospective clients recently. So I think it's a topic that's out there. Maybe people are not talking about it and trying to find solutions on their own and just deal with what they have and what they know. But I figure it'll be a good way to provide some tactical education today and address this topic.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. So, we're going to open the year with a variety of tactical, get to it, get the answers, move on with your life, and make technology your competitive advantage. That's been our goal back in 2020, and we're going to sort of continue this, carrying this into 2021. And so you are tuned in to Design Under Influence, and today we're going to unpack using Revit on Mac. Should you do it? Should you not do it? So first of all, let's talk about the why. Why do people, what's some of the reasons, Boris, that people are asking about this? Why not just use PC and be done with it?
Well, why not just use PC, Alex? I see you have a nice shiny Mac on your desk right there. So tell me, why do you have a Mac?
That's a little bit of an image, right? So, I like Mac. I like you used to a particular operating system, and a lot of things hook into it, like this GoPro camera I have going, this mic here. I'm sure I can make it work with the PC, but I've been using Mac for so long. And it's also cool, right? Having a Mac is cool. So that would be my reasons. Are those the reasons that your customers telling you?
Well, that's one of the reasons, right? To take the idea of image a little further is, right, Mac traditionally has been marketing ever since I remember to independent thinkers, designers, and architects are. And a lot of architects want to have that individuality, and that's why they go with Mac. Aside from other, maybe more important considerations, one of them, I think, stability is also very important, right? The reason why Mac is so stable is because it's a single operating system that is basically designed to run on a specific set of hardware that almost never changes, and slowly adapts and slowly moves forward, always tested. So stability is another reason why people choose Mac over Windows. And then additionally, which I don't agree with, and I'm going to give you reasons why, but also many people believe that Macs are more secure. Right. Yeah. So again, we've been marketed to saying that Macs are easy, secure, which is not necessarily true. And to get deeper into it, is just Windows and Mac are pretty much similar in terms of security. It's just that there's less Macs out there in the environment right now. I think Macs take up about 12% of all marketplace
really?
in PC sales.
Not in phone, but in PC. That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Right. So, and in business, it's a lot less too. So what happens is the amount of attacks that you can, that are happening against Macs or PCs is actually direct. If you take the proportional percentage values versus, the proportion of the market, actually Macs are being attacked more than Windows computers.
So in a lot of ways, this is, as Mac share, I suppose, is growing, security risks are also become more robust and more real. But you're saying that, PC is just as secure with proper measures. I mean, obviously that's the kind of the key. You got to maintain be vigilant, train your people, train yourself. Don't open stupid emails. All right. So you say there's a parity here.
Correct. Yeah. From a security standpoint, we're going to take the security standpoint out of the equation of what we're talking about today. Outside of that, it's the image, it's the fact that the hardware and software is more stable, and the fact that you may already have a Mac, right? And you want to make sure that it works with your tools that you're using for your design process.
Got it. And so, all right. So why not just use a Mac? What's the problem with Revit and Macs?
So the problem is Revit never had a version for Mac, right? So Revit is designed to run on Windows computers. It's not designed to run on macOS, and it's not supported on macOS. So if I bought Revit license, I would not be able to directly install it on Mac and be happy and using it. So we have to find workarounds to enable for that to happen.
Okay. And those workarounds are, because, I searched Google, recorded the show, want to get educated on the subject, what other people are saying. The information is out there, but it's kind of sparse. It's not really, there's some solutions out there, but nobody really sort of dives into pluses and minuses. So why don't you go a little bit deeper, since, we're the IT company for architects. We have to take this burden upon ourselves to educate the wonderful people who are tuning into the show. So Boris, please give us a solution. What is the first most common solution for folks running Revit on Macs?
So the first most common solution is using a virtual machine, either Parallels or other virtual software, maybe a VMware workstation, running it on your Mac computer, and then running Windows inside of that virtual machine and running Revit inside of that Windows virtual machine. So that would be the first kind of most common steps that people take. It's an okay solution because there's obviously, like with anything, there's some pluses and minuses, but I think this one has a little more minuses than all the other things we're going to talk about here. And I think the biggest minus is just the performance and the fact that the graphics card that you have in your Mac does not play nice with the virtual platform. So you're unable to have some of the 3D functionality that Revit has inside of that virtual machine. So if you're designing a building, you may be able to just do some basic tasks inside of a model, right? But you're not going to be able to render the model correctly, or it will be very slow for you when you're trying to do more complex tasks that involve a lot of graphics.
So you think the Millennium Tower was designed on Revit using Macs? It doesn't render all the way, but how does it just pile on?
Let's cut off the last 2 inches.
But isn't that the worst thing ever, for an architect, designer, not to have your sheet rendering correctly? So I guess that's a pretty big minus, I'd say. Yeah.
Visual representation is very important. Depending on the design firm, each design process is different. But yeah, definitely when you're trying to present to your clients, you want to make sure that you have proper renderings, and you can outsource that stuff too as well. But in general, it's just it's hard to work on something where the performance does not allow for full capabilities of the application.
All right, let's go over the next couple of bumps and run into the next solution. Which I think might be a little bit better than.
All right. So, we talked about graphics performance. Along with that is just general speed and resource usage performance, right? You want to, if you're running a virtual machine inside of your Mac, you want to make sure that you have a nice MacBook Pro that has a lot of memory and it has, a really good processor, like an Intel Core i7 processor in it, right? Because most standard Mac solutions there may not have that out of the box. So you need to either upgrade your system or, consider other alternatives. And then in general, creating a virtual machine, it may be easy for a techie, but for a regular person, an architect who wants to, do their work and design buildings and not necessarily deal with all the tech stuff, it's not very easy to configure, right? Configure the virtual machine, install Windows operating system properly, install all the, the Revit software and maybe other software that's on it. It's not an easy thing to do. And then supporting any kind of any issues that may happen because you're not running on a hardware, but you're running it virtually. So I think those are all the minuses. Now, I will tell you, along with these minuses, there's also, there's some benefit over other solutions. And the benefit here is you can switch easily, right? Inside your Mac operating system. You can easily switch between the virtual machine that you're running and you have Revit, and then all the other applications you have inside your Mac, which makes it a little more palatable to go this route.
So let's just finish out with your recommendation, professional recommendation. One being absolutely no run away, burn it down, never come back to it. 10, it's the best solution in the world and nothing is better out there right now. What would you rank it at? 10 the best, 1 the worst.
Oh, put me on the spot right there. All right. I would say it's a 3. I would say it's a 3.
It's a 3. It sucks. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. So the next one is Bootcamp. And Alex, do you know what Bootcamp is?
It's where you get in shape. That's what I know.
No, I'm sure you know. You're on a Mac. Come on.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with being able to run Windows applications on a computer.
Right. But the way it works is it basically creates a separate partition on your Mac, on your disk, and it installs a Windows operating system on that partition. And by the way, you need to have a Windows license, Microsoft Windows 10 professional license in order to do this, right? So if you're doing it for your business, make sure you're licensing properly. So you install on another partition on your drive. So basically, like if you have a 512 gigabyte drive, you give half of it to Windows, half of it to Mac. When you boot up the system, you choose which installation you're trying to boot into. And that's the name Bootcamp, right? So you choose if you want to go into Windows or you choose if you want to go into Mac. Now, the advantage here is once you're in the Windows platform, all the resources that your Mac has, like the graphics card and all the other stuff, as long as you have some, nice graphics card and a lot of memory and good processor, all of that is dedicated. Unlike on a virtual machine where it's split between the operating system and the virtual machine, all of it is dedicated to that installation, right? So you get much nicer performance over the virtual machine in this scenario. So that's
beginning to sound pretty good. So what's some of the drawbacks here?
Well, some of the drawbacks is you're basically running Windows on a Mac. So any issues that Windows has on every other computer, you're probably going to experience similar issues on your computer as well, right? So like blue screens of death and that type of stuff, it happens on Windows, and that's probably the reason you chose Mac in the first place. You're going to get to experience that here maybe as well. Secondly, you don't have access to all your other apps in this environment. So in order for you to access all your other apps, you actually have to shut down your Mac and then boot it back into Mac OS. And then you don't have access to Revit. So it's basically like running two computers, but not next to each other, but kind of in serial, right? Like a train. You can only have either one or the other at one time.
It does sound like a pretty good solution, though, because I do know a lot of folks who run Windows on Macs already. And, certain applications are only like Windows, and Revit is one of them. And so I don't think, is there any other drawback? Because so far I'm not hearing anything devastating.
No. Like to me, I would say those are the two most important things, because efficiency suffers, right? If I'm working on something and I need to look something up, I need to basically go back into my macOS, and that takes time. So that's the only, I think that's kind of like, for me, trying to juggle multiple things at one time, this could be a killer.
So those of you multitaskers, that might be a problem. Well, unless you sort of find yourself using specific things on Windows, and then when it relates to Revit and that type of work, you already have it on the Windows. Then it's all sort of in the same world. And then when you go in a different world, maybe on the Mac, you have fun, you do email, you do other things, but you do focused design work on the Windows. I can see this working actually. Because to be honest with you, this is a whole other subject in the podcast, but I will go on a short rant and talk about the disruptions and focus. Like right now, if I try to do 4 things or 2 things even, this show wouldn't be half as good. Well, maybe, who knows how good it is already, but this is the best I got. This is all I got, right? Like, what if I split my attention? So something to be said about, giving yourself the environment, because your willpower is not infinite. You have finite amount of willpower. And so if your phone not on, airplane mode begins to vibrate, you watch vibrates, then you have all other interruptions. So if you're able to put all of your, I guess, additional systems that you need to perform the Revit work inside the windows, I could see this being actually a plus, man. Like, I don't know if anybody talked about that. What do you think about that? Being a plus, where it's a focused environment. I don't have beeps. I don't have emails coming at me. I don't have none of that stuff.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It will be a plus. So, yeah. But we know, both you and I, as business owners, that is really hard to achieve. And actually, if you do this specifically to cut yourself off from the external world, right, and only focus on that piece of work, that's actually, that's going to be a great
You'll do your best work that way. And that's what, this whole, we're trying to get you there, right? So you can stay focused as a business owner. And so, all right, 1 to 10, 10 being the best in the world.
So I was going to rate it at 5, but given the added benefit you just mentioned, let's make it a 7.
Wow, I got 2 points.
You got 2 points.
7 is pretty good. 7 is good. It's almost like C+.
7's pretty good. Now, the reason why it's not 10, because I would say, why not just get a Windows computer at that point, right? Because you're basically...
you just put it right next to it right here.
Exactly.
And that's it. Cost, right? Cost, and also 2 computers, you're schlepping around 2 computers, 2 power adapters. Ugh. Let's talk about the third possibility on running Revit on Mac.
So this third possibility is basically using remote access to connect from your Mac computer into a Windows computer that's running Revit, right? And the remote access can be a native Microsoft remote desktop method, or it could be a tool such as TeamViewer or other remote access tools that are out there for controlling that Windows computer and performing your work inside of the Windows Revit application. So a couple of things right away. Well, one jumps out right away, right? You need a Windows computer as well. So basically you have 2 devices. One, a Windows computer in your office, possibly, or under your desk.
I was going to ask, as I was looking through your notes, could it be a server running?
Well, it could be a virtual machine, possibly running on a server. It could be, like, if we go back to one of our episodes, right, about desktop as a service, like it could be one of those services, right?
I was going to bring up, I was going to bring that up, because that sounds like a pretty good use case for desktop as a service.
Correct. But again, it needs to be that second device, whether it's a piece of hardware or a virtual machine. It's still a second device that needs to be managed, security considerations, and the remote access itself needs to be properly set up, right? So you have to have the configuration on the device to allow for remote access to happen. So that would be kind of the first drawback of that. Also, since the device is remote, and if you ever need to kind of move data back and forth, it may be more difficult than having everything on your one laptop, right? Or your one desktop that you're using. And then I think the benefit here is that you're running a session on your Mac to a remote device. So it's still easy to switch between the applications, right? Because you are on your Mac in your native Mac environment, and the remote session just runs inside there. So you can switch between applications easier, check your Mac mail, email, if you need to, and do other things. So I think that would be beneficial for this type of solution. Overall, I would say it's a 4. I think it's a little better than the virtual machine in terms of performance, because you're utilizing basically the Windows desktop's full performance. But the fact that you need to have 2 machines kind of kill it for many people.
Here you have it. So do you mind if I sort of sum this up for the viewers in a sort of a more or less simple outcome?
You go for it.
So it sounds like the virtual machine and remote access are possible solutions, but maybe temporary. Maybe you already have it set up. Maybe once in a while. Board is rated at 3 out of 10 and 4 out of 10. So those are terrible. In reality, for work, it's difficult to operate in an environment where you 30 or 40% max more efficient. 30% efficiency, it's no good. So I'd say those are probably not a viable solutions. But if you really want to run Revit on Mac, and if you're the kind of person that understands that you do your best work when you focused and you're in the zone, and they call it state of flow. I don't know if you've heard about this. Some of you who are into self-performance, kind of lifting yourself up through knowledge and research and experimentation, achieving a state of flow is very important for your for your both enjoyment and the outcome of the work you do. And so to get to flow, you have to have focus. And I think the Bootcamp is the solution that has a technical, more or less decent or pretty good technical specifications in order to run Revit on Mac. But at the same time, it gives you that focus so you're not interrupted with notifications and all kinds of things going on. So I guess if you have to do it, use Bootcamp. Otherwise, just get on PC and live your life.
Fight other battles.
Fight other battles. Yeah, God knows we have enough battles these days. It's 2021. We're still battling, man. Still battling. Any other words of wisdom, Boris?
No, that's it. Just remember, technology is your competitive advantage, and we'll talk to you next time.
Indeed. Thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Have a great day.